I think it's time for another Volvo 240 video. Since you last saw it, a little bit's changed, not a lot. I've got some new wheel trims. I've got the old ones still, but my old ones, I don't know if you remember seeing it, they were missing the Volvo logo. So I've managed to find a very reasonable set of replacements. And I've got an idea that I might try and restore the old ones and just keep them as a spare set. Obviously we've got new tyres on. I think they were on when we last did a video. Would have probably been the oil change, wouldn't it, earlier in the year. And I think I just got some new rubber on the car. You can see it's hooked up to the C-Tech trickle charger, which is where it sort of sits in the garage on that when it's not in use. But today's job, well, I say today, jobs very rarely last a day for me because I usually hit some problems. But well, we'll call it today's job, is to have a go at fitting. I'm going to fit a vacuum gauge. It's a bit of a luxury item. It's not really required, is it? But I kind of like the idea of it. It uses a feed off of the inlet manifold, and there's a bit of reflection on there. And that little needle should spin around depending on, I think it really is just depending on how far your foot is down, how much you're asking of the engine. So that's my little gauge. I bought this, oh gosh, months ago. And thought, well, weather's improved now, it's nice and hot, so why not have a go at trying to fit it. So I've got the gauge. It actually came with some vacuum piping, but I bought some of this as well. Can't remember what the diameter was now. It's not very big. That's the feed. Just where my finger is there. It goes into the gauge, and the other end of this will be connected to our inlet manifold via. I bought some different sized. I think it's this one. Is it the one I put in the? No, I think it is this one. This is where the one end of the pipe will be connected, and that. Let's just have a look at where I'm going to try and take the feed from. Assuming I've got this right, I think it's going to be. There's a little blank here. I reckon what we'll do is we'll take the blank out, replace it with this little feed, little pipe. Use a little bit of probably a little bit of Vaseline or a little bit of grease just around that when I put that in. And then this pipe, I presume that purple pipe will sort of go through down into the bulkhead somewhere. This is going to be the challenging bit, I reckon, for me, because it's got to work its way into the cabin, hasn't it? So it can basically sit or find its way to the gauge. There's a few blanks down there. I might have a go at taking some of those out and just seeing what I find. I'll do a bit of an exploration down there in a bit and see if there's anywhere. There might be some better places for it to go. I have had a look online, but I can't really see anything too conclusive. I mean, there's some electrical wires which go through here. Maybe we can find the other end of where they come out. Not sure. Ideally, I quite like it inlet side because it won't be as hot. The pipe won't be near anything as hot. Not sure. And just to complete the theory, dark in here. Thought it's probably easier just to come around to the driver's side actually. So what I was going to show you, I'm going to position, there's a blanking plate here. I think we'll have our vacuum gauge there, and you just pop that blanking plate out, and I've got another surround, not sure which way around it goes, but it will look like the one where the clock is, so it's just sort of recessed and the gauge will fit behind that. So the other end of that vacuum pipe needs to basically reach just behind here. And I think there are some wires as well for the, must be a little light or lamp, well, some sort of illumination in that gauge. So that's the theory. That's what we're going to try and achieve, and I'm sure, I think I'll have to modify this slightly. I've got a feeling the back of this might need to be sanded down slightly, just to make sure that the gauge sits behind it nicely. So anyway, yeah, I'll have a look. I think the most important thing is trying to find out how to feed this through the bulkhead. Right, I'll let you know when I've made some more progress and what I've found out. Right, made our first discovery. So I've just pushed the car out because it's a bit tight to get in it. So yeah, why have I come over here? I started this side, driver's side. Try and have a look at these blanking plugs to see if they might be an option, because the gauge is going to be driver's side slightly, but I don't have a good feeling about it, and I don't think they're meant to come out, because I mean that's the hot side of the engine really. In that manifold, this side should be a little bit cooler. This blanking plug intrigues me, especially because it's got a little sort of what looks like almost not a hole, but an area where you could potentially create a hole, about vacuum pipe sized. And on the other side, passenger side, I've just removed the carpet. It's become a bit of a theme with my videos, hasn't it? My fading light. I need to charge it. It's a good lamp, this, but it doesn't hold its charge very well. Anyway, right. So what you hopefully can see is there. That, I think that is the other end of that. It's either that or is it the lower one? No, it's the lower one. Look. Okay, so the one to the right of the image, sort of dead center really. So we can actually feed, you see, our pipe through, and then it can just go behind the probably where the heater is, behind here, and I can probably just feed it up the back. So I reckon that's what we're gonna have best results doing. I did take the carpet off this side, sorry it's a bit dark, I can't really see anything, and I've left my lamp the other side. Yeah, so I don't think driver's side is the way to go. I reckon we found our little hatch. What I'd really like to do, I don't really like sort of altering, you know, things like putting holes in things that can't be reversed. I might try and get a spare one of these, just because it might be nice. Well, I want to be able to put it back to completely original. Not that this is a massive modification, but I don't like things which are irreversible. That's what I'm trying to say, irreversible. So I reckon this pipe will end up sort of feeding it up probably through under here, around the back of the dipstick, and through there for the vacuum gauge. That's the plan. Okay, so I've proceeded to remove that little rubber grommet from behind passenger side on my UK right-hand drive 240. And I think I will buy another blanking plug, or try and source one. Perhaps someone will be kind enough to sell me one if they're breaking a 240 for parts or something like that, because I've had a very quick Google search, but I can't see anything immediately coming up, and knowing some Volvo parts, OEM parts, it could be quite expensive. I've just, for now, I've put some, I don't know if this will last, I've just put some tank tape over the hole, and started just to feed this in, just to really just keep it a little bit sealed until I can get my replacement plug. Right, so I'm going to continue to feed that through, and then we'll have a go, I think, at hooking it up to the inlet manifold, and then see if we can get that gauge in place. Okay, so I've just been feeding this blue vacuum pipe through. You can, I think, just about see the other side of my my bit of tape that I just used to cover the hole temporarily, just while we're sort of testing stuff out and until I can get a replacement grommet. So I've fed this pipe through, it's pretty long. I think the next thing to do is to try and feed it just sort of through, maybe through there. I'm gonna have a little experiment and see what I can find. Get that fed through, and then put it through driver's side, I think, and feed it up to where this where the gauge will sit. I need to get that blanking plate off as well, so I'll use some trim removal tool to just pop that off. Okay, you've got that vacuum hose fed through now to the driver's side, and mentioned I was just going to pop this cover off. I've just got a little trim removal tool. You can see we just pop it in the back there, a lever, and that should just lift out, which reveals the space where the vacuum pipe's going to go. So I just need to feed that pipe up through to behind here, and connect it to the vacuum gauge. I think with retrospect, I probably would have fed this through from the gauge rather than the opposite, from engine to gauge. But what I've done is I've got one of these little grabber things. You pull the lever, and two little teeth sort of grip the end of whatever the end is. So I'm just going to put it through that way, as you can see. Pulled that through, and then we can just press the button at the end of this, release that, and continue to pull this through until there's not much slack, because I don't want loads of excess pipe, basically. So that's just, that doesn't want to pull any more. Just not going to pull it any more than that. Okay, I've just connected the end of the vacuum pipe to the gauge, and I've done up this sort of bracket on the back of it. The red and black wires, presumably for the illumination of the gauge. I'm not going to worry about those just yet, because yeah, I'm not quite sure how that's going to be wired in at this moment. Now, just to see, in this bracket that's on the back of the gauge, it seems to be preventing the gauge from sitting inside its recess, so I'm going to take that bracket off. Okay, so the bracket that was on the gauge is now removed, and that means the gauge should fit in that recess. Nice. Now, the other thing that you'll need is the new surround, and also what I did was I bought another clock with the surround. Someone was selling it, and it came because I thought basically it'll come with everything that I need. Possibly useful to have another clock, I don't know, but anyway, the surround, and also 3 little rubber feet and I believe those are placed in one, I think two, and there's a third slot. So we'll get those fitted. I'm doing my own camera work, so I only got one pair of hands. I'll show you it in a sec. Okay, so there's rubber feet. You can see I've just slotted them in. 1, 2, 3. And that means that we should be able to slot the gauge in and get it to rest in nice and straight. Oh, fits really nicely. Look at that. So I'll just fiddle around with that, faff around, and wait until I've got it absolutely how I want it, and then I think it fits on that way round, does it? Looks like there's a little guide at the top and 2 slots either side. Oh, that just clicked. Now I mentioned earlier, I think I might have to shave a bit off the back of this because it's snapping in okay one side, but no, it's like probably a millimetre or so out. But it will look something like that. Looks pretty smart, doesn't it? If I can get my lighting right, so you'll be able to see it, I reckon, quite well when you're driving. It's not a proper Volvo gauge, but I think it looks pretty neat. I might look out for a real one. I mean, I've got the plumbing in, so if I ever find a real Volvo gauge, vacuum economy gauge, then happy days. So yeah, a bit more fiddling around just to get that placed exactly where I want it, and then I'll go and connect up the other end to the inlet manifold. Okay, so there's our vacuum pipe. This is how I've orientated it, and I've used a number 11 spanner to undo and remove the little blanking plug that was in the inlet manifold there. I'm not entirely sure what thread that is, but obviously you need to have a vacuum connector with the same size thread so it fits in. So I've put just a little bit of grease on the thread, just a tiny bit of grease, not much, just to try and help seal it a bit really, but I don't want to go too mad. I've done that up hand tight, and so all that remains is to connect it up, I guess. It's quite long, isn't it? The connector I bought was quite long, so I'm not very good left-handed. I'll push it as far on as I can get it, and then I think we're ready to test to see what happens. Okay, I've got the surround on. I've just been carefully sanding the back of it very, very lightly and slowly until it's just sort of popped into place and is sitting happily. So, well, why don't we see whether it does anything? Should we start up? Let's have a look. Right, here we go. Ooh. That was exciting, wasn't it? There we go. Well, it's it thinks we're on drive. It should really be idle, shouldn't it? So I'll leave it running for a bit and we'll see what it does. Okay, I've just sort of pulled forward a little bit. It's been running probably about a minute, no more, and it is actually sort of settling down more into the idle area. So probably just because the engine's a little bit cold. Just very gently blip the throttle, you see it goes to drive and into idle. That's pretty cool, isn't it? So again, we'll let it warm up. I'll put the carpet trim back under here. Oh no, I've done that one, haven't I? Did that side, it must be driver's side. I will do. And we'll just see if it idles okay. Okay, well the initial tests seem to be fairly positive. Just ran it for about 10 minutes and it's all nice and hot, warmed up. It was idling pretty well, I'd say. Don't think we were losing any air. Just feeling how warm everything is. We'll do a proper test tomorrow. Hopefully, yeah, until I get my little grommet sorted, that temporary solution will stop too much fumes going into the cabin. Yeah, bit of fun, eh? I don't know if I need to secure it. It might be okay. I've actually just popped. I used this tie strap which I'd previously put around the fuel line just to stop that rattling around too much. So I just popped it through there. There's plenty of slack. So let's do a proper run in the coming days and see how it performs. I've got the blank with me, and I'll take the 11 spanner as well, just in case we hit any problems, and I could just replace that blank, because engine wise that's all that's different. Everything else is plumbed in sort of inside the car. So there we go. If you decide to have a go at fitting a vacuum gauge, doesn't look like it's too difficult on these. Little demonstration of the vacuum gauge. So we're on a very quiet bit of road. My assistant's kindly helping me. So you'll see I'm on very light throttle. It's third gear at about 20 miles an hour. A little bit of power on, and you see it's gone on to drive. And then I'm going up a slight hill here. It went to fair there in the pink. And if I just get onto a little bit of straight, put my foot down. Oh yeah, very poor economy. And then change gear back into the overdrive because my foot's off the gas. And that's fourth gear, foot off the gas, and just sort of slowly decelerating, doing about 30 miles an hour now. And that's it really. It's quite nice to watch, isn't it? Mustn't get too distracted by it, but quite a fun. Oh, there we go. Quite a fun little gauge.